Hello students, myself Dr. Ahmed. I welcome you all to the 16th lecture of Mathematics 1. Students, in the previous lecture, we have started Unit 2. We have seen the overview of Unit 2, that is what are the topics and what is the weightage of marks for all the topics that we have discussed in previous class. Also, we have started Rolle's theorem. We have seen the statement of Rolle's theorem, geometrical interpretation of Rolle's theorem and verification of Rolle's theorem with few example problems. In today's class, we are going to see the proof of Rolle's theorem and applicability of Rolle's theorem for various functions. Also, if time permits, we will see Lagrange's mean value theorem, statement and its geometrical interpretation. Right? So let us start with Rolle's theorem and its proof. Statement already we have seen in the last class. The statement of the theorem says that so Rolle's theorem statement already we have seen the statement of this in the last class. The statement says that let f of x be a function defined on the closed interval a comma b such that first point is f of x is continuous on the closed interval a comma b. The second condition is f of x is differentiable on the open interval a comma b. Third condition is f of a is equal to f of b, right? Then Rolle's theorem guarantees that then there exists at least one point C in the open interval a comma b belongs to open interval a comma b such that this f dash of c, that is the derivative of f at the point c, is 0. So this is the Rolle's theorem. What are there? One function is there, f of x, which is defined on the closed interval a comma b, right? Such that this f of x is continuous on the closed interval a comma b, f of x is differentiable on the open interval a comma b, and at the end points, that is a and b, values of the function are equal, that is f of a is equal to f of b. Then this theorem guarantees that there will exist at least one point C in the open interval a comma b at which if you find the derivative, that is f dash of c, that will be 0. Geometrically, the meaning is if a continuous function is there which is smooth, differentiable means which is smooth, then in between a and b definitely there will be one point at which if you draw the tangent will be parallel to x-axis, or the slope f dash of c means slope of the tangent will be 0, or the tangent will be parallel to x-axis. Geometrical meaning, for geometrical meaning you can watch my last video, right? Geometrical interpretation was discussed in the last video. Now in today's class we are going to prove this. So we are going to see the proof of this, and this proof is asked many times. In the last class I told you that this theorem was asked many times, like December 15 it was asked, April 7, December 8, May 9, December 13, and also in last December 20. So in all these exams this theorem was asked, state and prove Rolle's theorem, right? The question will be state and prove Rolle's theorem. You have to state, you have to write the statement, and also you have to write the proof, right? So let us prove this. Whatever the information is given, that information we have to use and show that what is the information given. It is given that f of x is continuous, it is given that f of x is differentiable, also given that f of a equals to f of b. We have to use these 3 points, conditions given for the function f of x, and show that there will be one point C which belongs to open interval a comma b, such that if you find the derivative f dash at that point C, the value will be equal to 0, right? So what is given? First condition says that given f of x is continuous. F of x is continuous. On which interval? On the closed interval a comma b. A continuous function on a closed interval a comma b is always bounded, right? If you see the geometrical meaning of this, what is the meaning? Suppose I am having a continuous function, like this is the continuous function. Let this is the initial point A and let this the initial end point B, right? A and B. In between A and B, if a function is continuous, then obviously you can find the maximum value and you can find the minimum value of the function. Maximum value is given by this and minimum value is given by this line. For any function, whatever the function we are having, if it is continuous in between a closed interval, then the function cannot achieve the infinite values. The function will be having maximum as well as minimum, right? So the function will be having, because the given function is continuous on the closed interval a comma b, this implies what we can say, f of x has both maximum and minimum. Maximum and minimum. Both maximum and minimum values. Let that maximum value I am considering as f of capital M, and minimum value let f of capital M and f of small m be the maximum and minimum values of x, minimum values of f on the closed interval a comma b. What I am assuming? I am assuming that f of capital M, because it is f of x is continuous on the closed interval, so f of x will be having both maximum and minimum, because a continuous function on a closed interval cannot be unbounded, it will be always bounded, so it will be having its maximum and minimum values. Let f capital M is the maximum value and let f of small m is the minimum value, right? Then see, I am having two values now. F of m is a value, f of small m is a value, f of capital M is a value, f of small m is a value. Then these two values can be either equal or not equal. The only thing possibility is they may be equal or they may not be equal, right? So first case I will consider they are equal. Let if I am having two numbers, then the numbers will be either equal or unequal, right? The simple thing. If they are equal, then what will happen? If they are not equal, then what will happen? We are going to see now. Suppose f of capital M and f of small m are equal, then what will happen? F of x is same, because they are equal. F of x is same for all x belongs to closed interval a comma b. Why I am writing like this? So suppose I am having a function. See, if the graph is not like this, then the minimum and maximum values of the function will be different. The minimum and maximum values are equal means the function will be same everywhere. Suppose if I draw another function, like if I draw something like this, then this will be the minimum value of the function and this will be the maximum value. Which one will be the minimum? This one will be the minimum and this one will be the maximum values, right? If they are equal, the minimum and maximum values are equal, then what is the meaning of that? The function will be always same. The function for all values of x, the function will be same. That is, the function will be a constant, either this line or this line or this line. The function will be the same. The function is same means function will be constant, no? This implies f of x is constant function. F of x is constant for all x belongs to closed interval a comma b, right? When if you differentiate the constant, then what we will get? F of x is constant, no? When I differentiate this f dash of x, then I will get 0, right? And this is true for all x belongs to closed interval, open interval a comma b or closed interval a comma b, because at endpoints we don't consider derivatives. So that's why I am writing f dash of x equals to 0 for all x belongs to a comma b. Because it is a constant, so when I differentiate this, I am getting it is 0, right? So therefore, if I consider what I want actually, See, in every case, I want a point C at which f dash of C should be 0. That is what I have to prove. I have to use this information. F of x is continuous, f of x is differentiable, f of a equals to f of b. I have to use these three things and show that there will exist a point C which belongs to upon interval a comma b such that f dash of c equals to 0. That is what we have to prove. So we have used one condition here. A given function f of x is continuous. So it is a continuous function on a closed interval a comma b, then it will be having both maximum and minimum values. I'm assuming that f of capital M is maximum, f of small m is minimum, right, of f on closed interval a comma b. Then these two values may be equal or unequal. If they are equal, then the function will be same. Maximum and minimum values are equal means function cannot be different at different values. Function will be same at all the values. Then only we will get maximum and minimum are equal. F of x is same for all values means f of x is constant. When you differentiate the constant function, you will get it to be 0. So if I select C, if therefore C can be anything, C can be anything in the open interval a comma b such that, so what will happen in between a and b, I am selecting C to be anything, because if this is true, this f dash of x is true for all x. I can select any x. So I can select any C in between a and b. I can select any C in between a and b such that f dash of C will be 0. So I have proved that C can be anything in the open interval a comma b such that f dash of C is 0. I have proved this by assuming f of m, f of capital M is equal to f of small m. Now I am considering the another case. The second case I am going to consider. Let f of capital M is not equal to f of small m, right? F of capital M is not equal to f of small m. Then what will happen? This implies either of f of capital M or f of small m is not equal to f of a equals to f of b. F of a equals to f of b is the third condition. Now I am going to use that condition. Already I have used the first condition, that is f of x is continuous. The third condition is f of a equals to f of b. This is also a real number. Now f of a equals to f of b means it's a real number, which are equal numbers, right? Now when f of m is not equal to f of capital M is not equal to f of small m, means they are different numbers, then either of these numbers will not be equal to f of a or f of b, because if both are equal to f of a or f of b, then they are equal with each other, no? If f of m is equal to f of a and f of small m is equal to f of a, then they are mutually equal, right? Hope you are understanding this. What I am saying is when f of capital M is not equal to f of small m, then either of these two numbers, that is either f of capital M or f of small m, will not be equal to this, number, because if they are both equal to this number, then they both are mutually equal. But that is not true, because we are not considering that they are equal. We are considering that we are starting this case with they are not equal. F of maximum value and minimum values are not equal. With that we are starting. If both are equal with a same number, then mutually they will be equal, which is not correct. So either of f of capital M or f of small m not equal to f of a and f of b. So what I am assuming, specifically I will take that let f of capital M is not equal to f of a, which is not equal to which is equal to f of b. Right, then what will happen? See what is happening. I'm taking that because either of this f of m, f of capital M or f of small m is not equal to f of a equal to f of b. Then specifically I'm taking f of capital M as not equal to f of a equal to f of b. Then what will happen? So m cannot be. So here what will happen? M cannot be a or m cannot be b. M cannot be a or m cannot be b. Then what will happen? But where is that m? But m is in the closed interval a comma, because capital M is the point at which the function is having maximum value. So m will be obviously in the closed interval a comma b and not the endpoints. See what I am doing, but m is in closed interval a comma b and not the endpoints. then where will that m lies? This implies m will be in the open interval a comma b. Closed interval a comma b means m can be a or b, but here we have showed that m cannot be a and m cannot be b. Then where that m lies? M lies in the open interval a comma b, right? M lies in the open interval a comma b. Since f of m is maximum, then what will happen? This f of m will be greater than or equal to all other values of x. This is true for all x belongs to closed interval a comma b, right? Because f of m is the maximum value, it will be always greater than or equal to all the other values of the function, right? This and what is open interval a comma b? Open interval a comma b will always lie in the closed interval a comma b, right? Closed interval means endpoints are considered, open interval means endpoints are not considered. So open interval a comma b will always be in the closed interval a comma, contained in the closed interval a comma b. Thus this implies what will happen? This whatever the condition is there which is true on the closed interval, that will always be true on this open interval also, no? This will be true on open interval also, right? F of m is greater than or equal to f of x, and this is true for all x belongs to open interval a comma b, right? Then what will happen? This implies, what can we say? F of capital M is local maximum, right? F of capital M will become local maximum because this open interval a comma b is the local interval for this global interval closed interval a comma b. Actually this will behave as the local interval and this will behave as the global interval. So f of capital M is a local maximum. Also what is given? The second condition says that also given f of x is differentiable on the open interval a comma b. The first condition already used, third condition we have used here. Now we are using the second condition, that is f of x is differentiable. So if these two conditions are satisfied, that is f is having a local maximum, f is having a local maximum and f is differentiable on the open interval a comma b. If these two conditions are satisfied, then there is a theorem called Fermat's theorem or local extrema theorem. This theorem says that Fermat's theorem or local maxima theorem or local extrema theorem says that f dash of m is equal to 0. When this is happening? When f of f is having local maximum at the point m and also f of x is differentiable on the open interval, then Fermat's theorem guarantees that f dash of m, if we evaluate, that is the derivative of the function at the point at which it is obtaining the maximum, if we find this, then this will be 0. So now if we now I need a c, no? That c I am considering as m. So c equal to m, we showed what we have proved by taking c equals to m. We have proved that c belongs to the open interval a comma b, because we have proved that m belongs to open interval a comma b. M belongs to open interval a comma b. So if I take c as m, then c will be in the open interval a comma b, such that just now we have proved that f dash of m is 0. This implies f dash of c will be 0, right? That is what we have to prove, and we have proved that. So second case, first case is very easy, I have explained already. In the second case, what we are doing is we are considering the maximum value and minimum values are not equal, right? Then what will happen? Either the maximum value, that is f of capital M, or minimum value f of small m, either of this will not be equal to f of a equals to f of b, right? This is the real number, these two are other numbers. So if they both are equal to f of a equal to f of b, then what will happen? Mutually they will be equal, but it is not possible. So that's why either of these two numbers will not be equal to f of a equal to f of b. So specifically I am taking that f of capital M is not equal to f of a equal to f of b. Then what will happen? Because f of m is the value of function f which is obtained at the point m. If I take that m is equal to a or b, then these values will be equal actually. So that's why what is happening, when the value of the function is not equal to f of a equal to f of b, then m cannot be a or m cannot be b. That is what I am writing. But m is in closed interval a comma b. Why? because m is a point at which the function f is obtaining its maximum. So m will be obviously in the closed interval a comma b, and we got that m is not a, m is not b. Then where does that m lies? M lie in open interval a comma b, right? Since f of capital M is maximum, then what will happen? this is the one point over. Now next we are starting that f of m is maximum value, then f of m will be obviously greater than or equal to all f of x, right? Because open interval a comma b, because we have to deal with open interval here, so that's why we are considering open interval a comma b, which is contained in the closed interval a comma b. Then what will happen? F of capital M, and whatever the condition is there, that condition will be true on open interval also, right? Then what we can say, f of m is having local maxima, because it is true, this condition, whatever the condition is there, this condition is true on this open interval, right? Whatever the condition is there, that condition is true on the open interval. So that's why, and this open interval will behave as a local interval for this global interval a comma b. That is why f of m becomes local maxima, right? Also it is given that f of x is differentiable on the open interval a comma b. This I am writing from the second condition. Then if these two conditions are satisfied, then there is the theorem called Fermat's theorem, which guarantees that if you find the derivative of f at the point capital M, then that will be 0. Now if I take C as the point M itself, then what we have proved? We have proved that C belongs to the open interval a comma b such that f dash of C equals to 0, right? This is what the proof of Rolle's theorem, and this proof and the statement has been asked many times in the examinations. You have to practice this very well. As I told you, in this unit 3 theorems will be there, starting with Rolle's theorem, then the second one will be Lagrange's mean value theorem, third one will be Cauchy's mean value theorem. Either of these theorems, among these 3 theorems, definitely one theorem will be asked in every exam. In every exam, one theorem will be asked, like state and prove Rolle's theorem, or state and prove Lagrange's mean value theorem, or state and prove Cauchy's mean value theorem. These kind of questions will be asked in every exam. So we have to practice the statement as well as proof. So this was the proof of Rolle's theorem. Now we will see, in last class we have seen problems related to this Rolle's theorem. Verification of Rolle's theorem we have seen. Now we are going to see the applicability of Rolle's theorem. So one function will be given, we have to check whether the Rolle's theorem is applicable for that function or not. That kind of problems we are going to see now. So this we will consider a question, right? Discuss the applicability of Rolle's theorem to f of x equals to, some function is given, f of x equals to x square minus 4x by x minus 2, and the interval is given to be 0, 4, right? We have to check whether we can apply Rolle's theorem for this function. Function is given to be f of x equals to x square minus 4x by x minus 2, and the interval given to be 0, 4. So we have to check whether can we apply the Rolle's theorem or not. See, for what is the Rolle's theorem actually? Rolle's theorem is a function will be given to you, f of x, which is defined on the closed interval a comma b. If this function is satisfying 3 conditions, what are those conditions? F of x is continuous on the closed interval a comma b, f of x is differentiable on the open interval a comma b, and f of a equals to f of b. If these 3 conditions are satisfied by the function f, then the Rolle's theorem guarantees that there will be a point C in between A and B such that f dash of C equals to 0. So for applying the Rolle's theorem, these 3 conditions should be satisfied by any function. For applying the Rolle's theorem, whatever the conditions are there in the statement, that conditions should be satisfied by the function f of x. So what we have to do now, for testing the applicability, for discussing the applicability, we need to verify that this function f of x is satisfying all those 3 conditions. If those 3 conditions are satisfied, then we can say that the Rolle's theorem is applicable for the function f of x, right? So what is given here? F of x equals to x square minus 4x by x minus 2, in the closed interval 0 comma 4. So this is the given function on the interval 0 comma 4. So now we have to check whether Rolle's theorem is applicable on this or not. So means we have to check whether it is continuous or not. We have to check either whether it is differentiable or not. Also we have to check if whether f of 0 equals to f of 4. If these three conditions are satisfied, then we can say that Rolle's theorem is applicable for this function. So first we will verify whether it is continuous or not. If any of those three conditions is violated, then we say that Rolle's theorem is not applicable for the given function f of x, right? This kind of questions will be asked for 2 marks. Generally this kind of questions will be asked for SAQ 2 marks. So here the given function is f of x equals to x square minus 4x by x minus 2 and the interval is 0 comma 4. So let us verify whether this function is continuous or not. So clearly what will happen? Clearly when x equals to 2, then what will happen? See, when x is equals to 2, when I put the value 2 here, then what will happen? 2 minus 2. The numerator will not be affected, but the denominator, what will happen? See, numerator will be 4 minus 8, some value we will get here, but in the denominator 2 minus 2, what will happen? 0, something by 0. The function will, when x equals to 2, the function f of x goes to infinity, right? The function is having a sudden jump on the point x equals to 2. And where does that point lie? And x equals to 2 belongs to the closed interval 0 comma 4, no? 2 lies in between 0 and 4. So that's why the function, what is the meaning of this? The function f of x is having a sudden jump, sudden discontinuity at the point x equals to 2. So that is what we can say. At x equals to 2, the function f of x is having a discontinuity. Right? At x equals to 2, the function f of x is having a discontinuity. So what we can say, therefore f of x is not continuous. So before that we have to write at x equals to 2, the function f of x is having a discontinuity and that 2 belongs to the closed interval 0 comma 4. So that's why what will happen? Therefore f of x is not continuous. What we can say, f of x is not continuous on the closed interval 0 comma 4. When f of x is not continuous, that is the first condition is violated here. To apply the Rolle's theorem, we should have f of x to be continuous. But what is happening here? F of x is not continuous on the closed interval a comma b. So closed interval 0 comma 4. So what will happen? Therefore Rolle's theorem cannot be applied. Therefore Rolle's theorem cannot be applied to the function f of x equals to x square minus 4x by x minus 2 on the closed interval 0 comma 4. So this is how we solve the problems related to applicability of Rolle's theorem, right? We will see one more problem to understand this clearly. We are having one more problem. So next question. Discuss the applicability of Rolle's theorem for f of x equals to tan x on the closed interval 0 comma pi, right? This is what the given question, and this question was asked in December 2015. This question was asked in December 2015 for 2 marks. Right, now we will see the solution of this. We have to check whether the Rolle's theorem is applicable for this function f of x equals to tan x on the closed interval 0 comma 5. So what is given, that we have to write here. Given f of x equals to tan x, this tan x can be written as sin x by cos x, and the given interval is 0 comma pi. Now we have to check whether those three conditions will be satisfied by the function tan x or not, right? So first condition is continuity condition. Most of the functions, whatever the asked in this type of problems, will be discontinuous, right? Will be discontinuous or will be not differentiable. So we have to verify all the three conditions starting with continuity. So now if we observe clearly cos x will be 0 at which point? So we have to see the where does the denominator will be 0. In previous problem also, if you have observed, what I did was I found out a point at which the denominator becomes 0. Where does the denominator becomes 0? Denominator becomes 0 at x equals to 2. So that is why at x equals to 2 the function will not be continuous. So same thing we have to do here. Here also we have to find out a point at which this denominator cos x will be 0. Cos x will be 0 at which point? For what values of x cos will be 0? See, cos 0 is 1, then cos pi by 2. So at x equals to pi by 2, cos pi by 2, value of cos 90 will be 0. So cos will be 0 at x equals to pi by 2. And where does that x equals to pi by 2 lies? X equals to pi by 2 lies in the closed interval 0 comma pi. Therefore, f of x, what will happen when cos x becomes 0, that is at this x equals to pi by 2, what will happen? Sin pi by 2 is 1, cos pi by 2 is 0. So 1 by 0, this function will go to infinite. So f of x equals to tan x is not continuous or discontinuous. The function f of x equals to tan x is not continuous at x equals to pi by 2, which belongs to the closed interval 0 comma pi. Therefore, we cannot apply Rolle's theorem for this function also. Therefore, Rolle's theorem is not applicable for f of x equals to tan x on the closed interval 0 comma pi, right? Hope you are following this. We are going to see one more problem. So simple problems are there, 2 marks questions are there. These are 2 marks questions. Next question is, discuss the applicability of Rolle's theorem for f of x equals to mod x. The given function is f of x equals to mod x in the interval minus 2 comma 2, closed interval minus 2 comma 2, right? And this question was asked in December 2017, right? So what is given? One function f of x equals to mod x is given. We have to check whether Rolle's theorem is applicable for this function or not. Means we have to verify all those 3 conditions, that is f of x is continuous, f of x is differentiable, f of a equals to f of b. These 3 conditions we have to verify. What is given? Given is f of x equals to mod x on the closed interval minus 2 comma 2, right? Here clearly, because if you draw the graph of the function, how will be the graph of this function? If this is x and this is y, and this is the point 0, if this is minus 2 and this is 2, right? Then if you draw the graph of this function, this graph will be something like this. Right? This is the graph of function f of x equals to mod x, right? So how I am drawing, when you put x equals to 0, what will happen? We will get 0. When you put x equals to 2, we will get 2. This point will be 2. When you put 2, we will get 2. When you put minus 2, what will happen? Mod of minus 2, that will become plus. So that's why we will get this point. So when we join the points, we will get a graph of this shape, right? So here, because you observe the graph in between minus 2 and 2, the graph is not having any jump or discontinuity. The graph is continuous. So here f of x is continuous. We don't need to bother about the continuity of the function from the graph. Here f of x is continuous on the closed interval -2, 2. Now, as I told you, for differentiability, at every point on the graph, you must be able to draw a unique tangent. So, derivative exists means a unique tangent can be drawn at the point on the graph, right? But here, if you observe that x equals to 0 at this point, what will happen if you try to draw the tangent? You will not be able to draw only a unique tangent. So you will be able to draw that many tangents, infinitely many tangents can be drawn at this point, right? Because if you see this, then how many tangents can I draw here? This is a tangent, this is a tangent, all these are tangents here, right? So I will be able to draw infinitely many tangents at this point, at this specific point. At this specific point, I will be able to draw infinitely many tangents. Here also at this specific point, I will be able to draw infinitely many tangents. So that's why the function will not be differentiable only at this point. Except this point, if you try to draw a tangent here, what will be the tangent at this point? At this point, the tangent will be itself, the line itself. But at this point, you can draw infinitely many tangents. If we are able to draw infinitely many tangents, then the function will not be differentiable at that point. For differentiability means only one. So if we are having a smooth curve, if we are having a smooth curve like this, then this is differentiable, because at each point you consider this point, you will be able to draw only one tangent. You consider this point, you will be able to draw only one tangent. If you consider this point, you will be able to draw only one tangent. If you consider this point, you will be able to draw only one tangent. Like that, these smooth curves are always differentiable. But you observe this curve is having an edge here. So here you will be able to draw, if you consider this, then how many tangents can be drawn at this point? 1, 2, 3, 4, infinitely many tangents can be drawn. So that's why the function will not be differentiable at the point at the point x equals to 0. So, and f of x is differentiable at all points except at x equals to 0. F of x is differentiable at all points except at x equals to 0. And where does that x equals to 0 lies? X equals to 0 lies in between, better to write open interval, lies in the open interval -2, 2. So therefore what we can say, therefore f of x is not differentiable on the open interval -2, 2. So second condition is violated here. First condition is continuity is okay with the function f of x equals to mod x, but f of x equals to mod x is not differentiable at the point x equals to 0, and x equals to 0 lies in the open interval a comma b. So that's why f of x is not differentiable on the open interval -2, 2. Therefore we cannot apply Rolle's theorem. We cannot apply Rolle's theorem for the function f of x equals to mod x on the open interval -2, 2, right? This is how we solve the problems related to applicability of Rolle's theorem. So totally two types of problems we have seen. First we have seen when we started unit 2, we have seen the statement of Rolle's theorem. Then today we have seen the proof of Rolle's theorem, that is important for 5 marks LAQ question. Then geometrical interpretation of Rolle's theorem, that we have seen, which is important for 2 marks. Then we have seen verification of Rolle's theorem, right? In that last class only we have seen problems related to verification of Rolle's theorem. Now we have seen problems related to applicability of Rolle's theorem, right? So with this we have completed the complete topic Rolle's theorem, right? We have completed Rolle's theorem. In next class we will start what is Lagrange's theorem and what is the proof of Lagrange's theorem, how to prove that. Also we will see the geometrical interpretation of Lagrange's mean value theorem, and we will see problems related to verification and applicability of, in the next class we will see Lagrange's mean value theorem statement as well as proof. Then we will see a geometrical interpretation of Lagrange's mean value theorem. and problems, same two kinds of problems. One is verification of Lagrange's mean value theorem and applicability of Lagrange's mean value theorem, that we will try to cover in next two classes, right? Okay students, see you in the next class.